Hello, ASMR people. Jason, back again. This time we got, as you may know from the title, a little beer review. It is for No Rules by Perrin Brewing Company in Comstock Park, Michigan. It's one of the probably one of those like 100 beers that some will argue, as far as they're concerned, is like the best in the world. I'd say No Rules from Perrin's maybe one of those 100. I think it's my favorite anyway. We will also be reviewing all of the variants of this year's No Rules. So, without further ado, let's take a look at the bottle. Previous year's No Rules would have one particular color, bowling ball over another. Each year changing the color. Now it's sort of metallic. And I see Walter's glasses. Don't know how well it's going to show up on camera, but have this metallic hue to it, so the label's getting a little fancier. It's a Vietnamese porter, which I wonder if there is a Vietnamese porter or if it's a term they invented for it. And then below that it says Imperial Porter aged in oak bourbon barrels, 15% ABV. No rules were followed throughout the creation of this product. This 15% Imperial Porter was made with coconut and turbine sugar, then laid down and aged in bourbon barrels for several months. We hope you enjoy this product as much as we did making it. So there you go. It's a Bomber, 26 ounces. Wow, it's a real strong coconut note right out of the smell, right out of the bottle. Get a little bit of the bourbon, mostly coconut. I did get a No Rules 2020 glass. So there was a little bit of head. Didn't last all that long, but big ABV beer like this, it's not surprising. Out of the glass, still a very strong coconut smell. Bourbon's there. Getting a little bit of a vanilla smell, maybe. This is probably about 55, 60 degrees like it's supposed to be. I pulled it straight out of my cellar, which this time of year is probably around 60. Wow. It's very sweet. Kind of sweet in a good way. A lot of beers, I'm not a huge fan of sweetness, but in these kind of big bourbon barrel beers, a little sweetness can kind of take the edge off of the high ABV. get the coconut straight up, kind of a vanilla, and then later comes kind of the bourbon taste. So it's very good beer. I've been drinking No Rules for years. I think it's my favorite beer. It's this is just like any of the other years. Maybe a hair sweeter than normal. I don't know, but it's consistent, very good beer. So I'm recording this, and hopefully it'll drop in April of 2020. So certainly a time in world history, that's for sure, with the virus going around. I've been hearing people getting videos demonetized for saying the C word, if you will, so I'll just call it the virus. So are you guys quarantined at all? Anybody watching? Or are you guys a frontline medical worker? Or a grocery store guy or whatever? An essential employee, if you will? I was working right up until a couple weeks ago. And I don't know if I'm going to be off long or not, but we'll see. Now, No Rules, I don't believe gets any distribution. I think they just sell every bit they create right at their tap house. In fact, because of the virus this year, they did an online sale. You just order. They started it at some particular day at some particular time where you could start ordering it, and then you just pick it up at the curbside at the tap house. So I made sure to be online right when it started selling, and so I was able to get everything this year, not just as much of the base beer as I wanted, but all the variants from this year. And they were selling quite a few aged of their base beer, and aged No Rules, and also even some of the aged variants. So I was able to get a lot of cool stuff. Spend a lot of money in beer, but it'll, over the course of a year or something, as I drink it, it's not so bad. I much enjoyed it compared to previous years where you have to wait in line. Listen, I like, some of these fancy beers, but it's not Metallica. It's okay. I'm not going to wait very long in a line. I don't know if I did give you a look at how dark it is, or if I even mentioned it, to tell you the truth, but it's pretty black. You can't even see out the bottom, really. There certainly is an art to some of these barrel-aged beers. It's they all have a little different taste to them. Some they just take a stout, throw it in the barrel, and that's it. And then others will add a little bit of this and that, and man, it's just huge variation in the flavor. I went to a beer festival, let's say 2 months ago, and I was talking to one of the brewmasters, and he was complaining that some of these places were just buying barrels that were pretty much used up and just throwing a little bit of bourbon into their beer. And he's like, that's cheating. How about you tell me in the comments what you guys have been doing during quarantine? I've been watching movies, playing video games, exercising. I'm just curious how you guys are passing your time, if indeed you are quarantined and don't have to work. I am a homeowner, so I've been spending time doing little fix-it projects here and there. As long as I'm off, hopefully I'll be doing more videos. Yeah, of course. I've been finding it, obviously you could tell by my uploading schedule, I've been finding it kind of hard to make videos often. You work, and I work a lot more than 40 hours, that's for sure, and then, you got chores and stuff to do around the house. By the time it's all said and done, you just don't have much time. If I had more motivation, could I film 2 videos on the weekend or something, and then edit them up, get them all set to upload during the week? Yeah, I could, I suppose, but after all week, you don't really feel like it. It's kind of a hard deal. So if I stick to my plan, I'm going to include all of the variants in this video, but drinking 26 ounces of 15% alcohol beer, that's good for a night. I wouldn't want to drink 52 ounces of that strong a beer. So each night I believe I'm going to come down to my little recording area, open one, drink it, and then I'll do that with each of the other variants. I'm going to throw this all into one video. So if you see me wearing a different shirt, or the camera angle's not exactly the same as it was because I bumped it, then that would be why. You ever think it'd be a cool idea if someone were to open up an ASMR salon where someone's literally tapping your ear, and like in real life, or giving you a head massage, or doing real life whispers? I always thought that'd be kind of cool. You could bill it out just like you do a massage, right? By the way, let me know what you think of these beer reviews. It's obviously not a terribly trigger dense video, but it's at least it's kind of heavy on soft spoken, if you will, and a little conversational. If that's something that you guys enjoy, it's just let me know. It's a good way for me to make videos when I'm just reusing time I'm going to have anyway. So, or if you guys want me to keep making these but make them more trigger dense, I could do that. I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but I do almost all my tapping with my left hand because I have good rhythm with that hand, but my right hand isn't nowhere near as good. I can go really fast and stuff like with my left hand, but my right one I can't suck with. And I'm right-handed. That's the weird part, but I don't know. Maybe it's uses right brain. Who knows? Something like that. So anyway, yes, the base beer was great. Now let's try one of the variants. So the first variant we're going to look at is No Rules Mango Chili. See, the label's about the same, except it does say mango chili on it. And the cap it's a yellow cap instead of the traditional black Perrin cap. So we got the No Rules 2020 glass. It's the same glass I used for the straight No Rules beer. In case you do see some slight variations on angle, or maybe I'm wearing a different shirt. There's no way I can drink, what would it be, something like 4 bombers of 15% ABV beer in one day. So I'm recording one variant per day. So what you've seen a couple minutes ago was yesterday for me. So you can see there's not much head. Color is about the same as the base beer. Straight from the glass, really kind of what it smelled like from the bottle. I really smell that mango and not much of anything else. So let's take a drink. the mango really overpowers most everything. Am I getting any chili? Touch of chili, but it really there's hardly any of the notes from the base beer. Coconut, chocolate, just the sweetness is gone. I don't really get much of the bourbon, really. I'm not the biggest fan of this one. I appreciate trying something different, so I will say that's good, but it just doesn't pop. Like, just the mango seems to drown everything out, which is a little surprising. The base beer is so flavorful, and I wouldn't call mango on the top of the list for strength of fruits like cherries might be. I mean, one cherry really pops in like a mixed drink or something. Mango, I wouldn't say it does, but in this case it seems to. Of course, I could have bought more than one No Rules glass, but gosh, you can in the craft beer scene, you can really get out of hand fast in glassware and cellaring beers and a lot of things. It can really go the distance, that's for sure. So I just wanted to get one. I didn't get any glassware from last year. This might be a little cold. They suggest like 55 Fahrenheit, which if my international listeners are listening, I don't know exactly what that is in Celsius. 20, I don't know, something like that. It's probably a little colder than that because I pulled it out of the fridge and maybe it sat out for 20 minutes. Didn't take the temperature. That could have a little effect on the taste, but in this case, I don't think it will. So tell me, what do you guys think of these beer reviews? I find it hard sometimes to build the time to sit down and do some videos. But, if I was going to sit back and have a beer anyway, it's no big deal to turn the camera on. With the beer review too, I feel like I'm doing good for ASMR because some people clicking this are going to be clicking it for the beer review. Maybe haven't heard of ASMR or don't really know much about it, but perhaps they'll like it. There's a few beer review channels I watch, and they'll poor people, like, it's tough. You can do some nice videos, and it's tough sledding to get like a lot of views and subscribers on if you're a craft beer review channel. It's but really, YouTube should be done for the passion, not to make money now. You know, and I always tell people, I suggest if they have the metrics to monetize it, but you know, if you do it for the passion, then people can see that, and if you don't get good results, then hey, you had fun, right? Of course, a regular beer review channel would split each of these variants into its own video, but for ASMR purposes, people are trying to watch this to relax, so you know, a 7-minute video wouldn't be enough. So that's why I'm doing all the base and the variants all into one video. There's not a ton of ASMR beer reviews, but the few that are out there, one thing I always have liked about them, compared to just a regular beer review, is the review isn't necessarily why I'm watching it with an ASMR beer review. It's literally, perhaps I'm enjoying a beer or relaxing, and seems pretty casual, as if you're having a beer with the person making the video. ASMR sort of flies in the face of regular YouTube rules. For most things, you want your content to be compact and concise. In ASMR, maybe you want a lot of triggers per minute, but you don't really want it to be compact. You want it to be drawn out. You know, for this or that, for family or whatnot, I've made a non-ASMR video or two and threw it on just some side channel I have. It's not really a channel, I won't even say it, but talking like this is not how you want to talk for a regular channel. And once you get used to talking like this, it's hard to be that sort of louder, faster paced person, you know. I've got, for beer review ASMR, I've got a couple of ideas for the future. I do save a couple beers often per year of each of some famous vintage of some famous craft beers, you know, stuff that will age well, like KBS, for example. And I've wanted to do a you know, side by side year, I guess they call it a vertical, you know, tasting. And you know, usually you don't want to drink more than a couple of KBSs in a sitting, but how I'm doing this one, I think might work for doing some of that, where just I do one per day, and then I could just edit the video into one continuous video. You know, it's still fresh in your mind, the taste one day later, and so that would work. And like KBS, I probably could do, since they're coming 12-ounce bottles, I probably could do 2. And I maybe only have about a 4-year run, so I literally could record it in like a course of 2 days. Are you having a beer or a wine or non-alcoholic beverage while you're watching this? Let me know. Sorry if this isn't super trigger dense video. I just enjoying my beer and talking with you guys. Perhaps someday I would do something like this in a live stream. I've done a couple of test live streams where I was unlisted, sent just out to my friends, and I think I've got the setup for it. I don't know if not sure if I can use this guy as the mic for it. I don't know. I have had some trouble with that, but it'd be pretty easy to use the old Blue Yeti as my mic for a live stream. I might be able to use this guy, but I don't know. Just when I record, it's often at a weird time for where my demographics seem to be, so I don't know that I'd get much response, but one of these days. Plus, my recording setup is it's a little ways away from my computer, so like I'd have to deal with that. Sometimes I have this habit of doing nothing if I can't do things completely right, and of course the right way would be to have like 2 monitors behind the camera, so I'm still looking at you while I'm reading comments and and things like that. But and I would have a hard time setting all that up, but you don't have to do things perfect to do something good. Yeah. I'm beginning to realize that this is going to be a fairly long video, which is good. Because in each one I'm going to finish my little 12-ounce glass with you guys, and with a bomber there's always another 12 ounces that I'll probably do after I'm done recording. Do a few little triggers on waiting to take my next step. You guys want to see that bottle again? I suppose as a brewer that has one thing like that, what to do is probably an interesting dilemma. Yeah. Perhaps they have a hard time sourcing enough barrels where you could just do this huge distribution. But then you also have to think about, do you want to be Founders KBS? You know, if you're watching this from California or something, perhaps it's tough to get KBS, but it's in my backyard, and I think I could go out especially if I hit like 3 different stores. I'm recording this, by the way, mid-April, 2020, height of quarantine time, right? I probably could get bombers of KBS 2018 and 12 ounces of KBS 19 and 20. So I could do literally a 3-year run. So they make so much that the specialness, the rarity, sort of, it sort of has subsided, at least in the backyard. But if you make $2 per 4-pack and you sell 10 times more 4-packs, well, it's the economic question I can see. So it's the dilemma. All right, we finished at 12 ounces, so let's go to the next variant. So our next variant is No Rules with Coffee. See, it says with coffee and has the green cap. Wow, you can smell that coffee right out of the bottle. Pretty much mutes a lot of the other smells. So, not terribly carbonated, but you could hear it. Again, now the glass, it's really, really strong coffee smell. Color wise, it's about the same as all the other No Rules. Really dark. Can't see much from the bottom of the glass either. So let's give it a taste. Wow, it is a strong, strong coffee taste. Yeah, you really don't get much other than the coffee. It literally drowns all the tastes of the base beer. I think I would have gone a little lighter on the coffee. Of course, perhaps it was their intentions too. It's hard to know how a beer is going to turn out on you, I'm sure. if somebody is if somebody thinks that the base beer was a little too sweet, the coffee certainly just nullifies all the sweetness. And if you like really strong coffee beers, this is a very strong coffee flavor. It it does hide the alcohol well. I will say it's like all your taste and it's kind of almost tastes like a cold brew. And of course, this is a beer. It's I think 15%. I think the variants are all 15% like the base, so it's strong beer, and you really don't get the alcohol taste. But you almost don't even taste the bourbon barrel either, so if you want the bourbon taste, it's kind of gone. I like it, but so far neither of these variants have beaten the base No Rules beer. Yeah, I generally do enjoy coffee beers. I think they have their place. It's all a matter of how much coffee I guess you want in a beer. Like I do like the, let's say, the porters, coffee porters that are, these like 6-7% beers. That coffee is a good way to add some nice flavor to a beer, and it's inexpensive now. When you're adding coffee to these bourbon barrel ones, that's a case by case, I guess, if I enjoy those rather well or not. You're paying pretty good money for some of these dark fruit taste and this bourbon flavor you get, and you don't want to drown it out. You really want to add to it. KBS, the coffee flavor adds to it, doesn't certainly drown out the other flavors in it, or this variant I believe does. Same with KBS Espresso, which is even a stronger coffee flavor, but you still taste some other stuff. Admittedly, this is probably a little cooler than 55 degrees right now, so maybe once you get to that magic spot, it might smooth out a little bit. So as we get to the bottom, we'll see. Yeah, it's a little bit warmer now. I guess the other flavors don't come back. It just sort of smooths out the coffee flavor, so it might be a little bit better at the right temperature, I suppose. I, of course, understand wanting to be at the perfect temperature on some of these, but there is a practical element to just being able to have a beer. You pull it out of your refrigerator and drink it. I know these aren't inexpensive beers, and they're maybe meant to be more enjoyed on their own as like a fine wine, as compared to just pulling it out of the fridge, cracking it open, and downing it. But still, I guess I prefer one that will taste good through a range of temperatures. And I'm not saying this is not good by any means. I'm just saying that I think I prefer the bass a little better. Of course, all these variants are mostly experiments. That's the point of them, and you don't expect all of them to turn out really well. When I picked up my pre-order, it was kind of nice. It was a drive-up service. Just gave the person my order number and ID, and they loaded it right up. Got to keep at a good distance, and because I prepaid for it, so. I usually record videos at night or early in the morning, so if you do hear any vehicle sounds, I'm going to try to cut out when I can. When I start to hear one, I just stop, and that'll be a cut. But if you do hear them, sorry, but I certainly don't want to drink my beer first thing in the morning, and I guess I could do it late at night, but on the other hand, I kind of like my buzz be wore off before I go to bed. I record in a basement, so like a lot of the car sounds get pretty muffled, but every now and then you can tell someone comes by that just has a really loud vehicle, and that will go right through. If you notice a little cut right there, had police sirens going by, so I just stopped, stared at the camera, and waited for it to go. If you want in a little bit on the process in which I make some videos, if I do have to stop for a sound, I try to stay perfectly still, because if my head's this way and then the next cut's this way, it makes pretty abrasive. But if you're really still, unless someone's looking for a cut, they usually don't see it, or at least it's pretty minor even to the subconsciously, I guess. When I make my other videos, or this one even for that matter, I often, like, if you have a conversation with me, sometimes I'll pause a little bit to think about what I'm going to say. And obviously it don't work so well on a video, so I'll have these cuts aren't always just for car sounds. It's just I'll stumble on what I want to say, or have to think about it for a moment. And everyone, I like to be a little compact with the old videos, so I do short transitions. Transitions are like where during the cut, your previous video segment fades out and the other one fades in, and I think YouTube watchers are used to jump cuts essentially, and I don't do a complete jump cut. I do a little bit of a fade, but the video software tries to make it 1 second long, and it's too long sometimes. I like to do maybe a third of a second, 10 frames. 20, because I usually record at 60 FPS. So yeah, it was pretty good, the coffee variant, but I think I certainly do prefer the base beer. I think I could get that type of flavor that this had for a beer that's far less expensive. I mean, I wouldn't be able to get one that's 15% alcohol that's that smooth, I will admit, for that same price. In terms of strength and how smooth it was, um, it's comparable to me to Revolution's Cafe Death, if you've had that. It's a really smooth and yet very strong coffee beer. So anyway, not bad. Let's move on to the next variant. So our final no rules variant to review is the chocolate peanut butter cup. It has a plain gray top. This one I saved for last because it sounds like it'll be really good. Chocolate, peanut butter seem to work well with the sweetness, I would think, of no rules. So let's see. Yeah, I get the peanut butter. All right, let's get a nose on the glass. Yeah, tastes a bit like the base. I mean, smells a bit like the base beer, but the peanut butter is what I can really smell. Not really smell the chocolate, but I don't know. Chocolate's kind of a hard thing to smell, right? You taste chocolate more than smell it. So let's give it a try. So I'm getting the peanut butter. Not sure if I really taste the chocolate. This is really the first of the variants where I can taste the base beer okay through it. Though I do have to say, it doesn't the peanut butter sort of offsets the sweetness a little bit in the taste, at least if you ask me. tastes very good. And I would say this one, to me, it's about equals the base No Rules. The added peanut butter taste is it's pretty nice, but it also kind of, I don't know, somehow takes away a little bit of the sweetness of the base beer. So good in one respect, not as good in another. The other two variants I reviewed seem like they kind of hit you over the head with the adjuncts. This is the first one that's sort of subtle. If you wonder what the little white thing is on the bottom of your screen, it's got the old mic here. Figured in a beer review you might actually want to see me. The old head microphone is good for sound quality, but not good for hiding it away. Like if you had a Rhodes, you could put it above and it would pick everything up. The big collection type mics, they work from a further distance, where these binaural ones, they work best up close. So, do you guys have a favorite beer or wine or whiskey or whatever? Leave me a comment. I don't know. I'd be curious to see what you guys like. Maybe I'll get a little suggestion from something you guys list. I do say a lot of the high end beers are released in these bombers, which I think they're 26 ounces. I do wish they did them in 12s, because that's a lot of beer to drink in one night, especially since it's like 15% ABV. Perhaps they make them to share, but I don't know. I mean, when you're in isolation, you don't have anyone to share it with. They are good for if you do have a bottle share. I've been to a few of those, and it's perfect for that. Because at a bottle share, maybe you're only getting a few ounces, and so one bomber can go a long ways. For those who aren't into these big barrel-aged beers or stouts, they are a bit of an acquired taste. I remember as a younger man, the first time I tried one, I didn't care much for it at all. I remember thinking if I wanted to drink bourbon, I'd drink bourbon. But I don't know. You get to taste them again and more, and you begin to like them. To anybody watching that's unfamiliar with where the name comes from, No Rules is pretty much quoting a line from Walter in The Big Lebowski. I think, if I recall right, it was talking about on the bowling, saying something about, what do you think? There's no rules here. That's when I think he pulls out a gun or something, and because he thought someone crossed the foul line. So my little recording room is just this tiny room with a backdrop, a little table, and these two big box lights. So it's, in a way, it's kind of weird. It's just a small room, just sitting here, nobody around me. I'm just sitting here drinking in a small room. It seems, sort of weird. What's funny is, over time, you begin to look at that camera and just associate it, associate it with like their people inside that thing or whatever. It's because after I post this, I get comments and stuff, and just begin to associate. Just, I guess what makes my brain work is that there's people inside that thing that I'm talking to. Yeah, usually, of course, I wouldn't drink down a beer this strong this fast, but given I'm reviewing 4 beers in one video, I want to keep the time down a bit, less than an hour for sure. I mean, I say that, and probably by the time I edit it, it'll be 30 minutes, but we'll see. They release No Rules once per year, so it's getting probably close to a full year of aging in the barrel. And there you have it. It's Perrin Brewing's No Rules 2020 with all variants. So let me know if you've had No Rules before, or other things from Perrin, and thanks, and hope you guys enjoyed. Take it easy.